So in this video we're going to be looking at the graph of cosecant, and I want you to remember that cosecant is just 1 over sine. And so a couple things we can take from this idea. Whenever sine is 0, whenever our denominator here is 0, cosecant will be undefined. And so that occurs at 0. So the vertical asymptote, it's going to occur at pi. And it would occur at 2 pi. And then when sine is 1, cosecant would also be 1, right? When the denominator is 1, 1 divided by 1 produces 1. So that's also something we want to be looking at. And I suppose when sine is -1, cosecant will be -1. So at pi over 2, sine is 1, which means cosecant is 1. So I want to graph a point somewhere around here. And at 3 pi over 2, cosecant would be at, or sine would be at -1, so cosecant is also at -1. Okay, so I have some different ideas here of where the graph's going to go. And I just need to match that up and continue to think a little bit about where cosecant would end up. Now, there's no way to make cosecant, to make this idea equal 0. Because there's no way to make this fraction equal 0. There's going to be no x-intercepts throughout here. So very similar to secant, I'm going to see a bunch of kind of like U-shaped sort of ideas as I graph cosecant. From this point right here, my graph, if I move to the right a little bit, it can't go down because there's no x-intercept. So the only logical place for it to go is to go straight up. And as I move to the left, same thing. I'm going to see a U-shape right here. In this chunk, I would have an upside down U-shape for very much the same reason. There's no x-intercepts that I could see. So let's go ahead and make cosecant's graph. It's in kind of a purplish shape here, and you'll see that it matches up a little bit with what I had already. And again, we can remember what this looks like simply by graphing sine. If you can know what sine looks like, if you kind of think about reflecting the different U-shapes of sine, you're going to get cosecant. So just let this run for a bit. I'm going to pull up my notes right now and also pause the video. So if I erase all of this, if I pause the video, I'll get a really good graph of cosecant up here, graph 2 cycles for you, and we can move on from there. So that's what you would get if you graph 2 full cycles of cosecant. Feel free to pause the video here if you need to take a little time to jot that down. One question that we would take from this is, and I could do this for cosecant, for secant. I could ask similar types of questions for sine or cosine. Just with this particular function, with some numbers thrown into the equation, where would I find certain pieces? So where would I find vertical asymptotes in this case? And here it wants us to graph 2 cycles of a cosecant function and then to locate all the vertical asymptotes. So if you notice, we have cosecant of x divided by 2. That's the same thing as cosecant of 1/2 x. That's a 2 right there. Okay, 1/2 times x. So remember, in that place, if it's being multiplied by x, that's a b value. B does the opposite of what we think. It's actually going to be a horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. So I'm going to take the graph that I have on the left side of our notes and simply change all of the red x values here. I'm going to double them because we have an expansion that's happening. So again, I'm just going to take a minute. I'm going to pause the video, take a minute to draw that out. But you need to realize that our b value is 1/2. So we have a horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. So that'd be kind of the graph that I get. I noticed that my nice little message popped up here just as I hit record again. But we would have, this would be up to -4 pi right there. Same graph that I had on the left side, just my x values have doubled. So instead of pi, I have 2 pi. Instead of 2 pi, I have 4 pi right there. So if the question is just saying list some of the vertical asymptotes, I generally say find 3 consecutive ones. In this particular picture, we would have -4 pi, -2 pi, 0, 2 pi, and 4 pi. So that's quite a bit that I'm listing there. But that's the general idea for a question like this. Jot down any questions you might have, and we will see you in class.